Seeing none and hearing none, we'll move on to action item number 9, Resolution 2026-01, revised fiscal year 25-26 operating and capital budget. General Manager Macy.
Thank you, President Duff. This item that we're going to be talking about right now is really our mid-year budget, where the staff evaluates where we are after 6 months, and if there are any changes to our budget, then we make it at this time. I'll ask our accounting manager, Skylar Aubrey, to give this presentation. Skylar?
Thank you, General Manager Macy. Good afternoon, President Duff and members of the board. I'm here to present our mid-year budget review. This is the same presentation you saw at the workshop last week, with 2 changes that I will point out when we get to the detail. The net effect of those changes is $0. We took 6 months of data in our analysis to determine what changes need to be made to continue to deliver safe, reliable water service to our customers while also prioritizing long-term financial objectives. We have determined that the current revenue budgets are reasonable and appropriate. Therefore, we request no change. We are requesting a total increase of $2.8 million in total expenses, which consists of $238,750 in operating expenses and approximately $2.6 million in capital projects. We will get into the detail of these shortly. This slide shows a comparison of the original adopted budget and the revised budget, which includes all of the adjustments that we are requesting today. You will see operating revenue stayed the same, while operating expenses increased a little over $200K. This brings the operating loss to approximately $7.2 million as opposed to $7 million. You will also see that non-operating revenue and expenses stayed the same, bringing the total change in net position to $19.3 million versus $19.5 million with the original budget. This slide shows the individual line item increases to operating expenses totaling $238,750. The first item is for customer billing outsourcing, totaling $10K. This is related to InfoSend. Costs have increased over the years, yet the budget has remained flat. The increase will get us through to the end of the fiscal year. Next, we are requesting $93,750 for Geographic Information System and Computerized Maintenance Management System staff augmentation. This is related to the implementation of CityWorks. A total of $50,000 is being requested in engineering contract labor. This is for shared project costs related to the Army Corps of Engineers, in which the district does not own the capital asset, which is why it is reported as an operating expense. We are requesting $10,000 for heavy equipment certification for our water transmission and distribution team. We are requesting $50,000 for accounting and ERP management consulting. This is related to Platinum Strategies Incorporated and our implementation of the Tyler ERP system. Phase 1, the core financials, is expected to go live this March. Lastly, we are requesting $25,000 for temporary payroll staff for cross-training and extra assistance with the increased workload due to the Tyler implementation. And then before we move on, does anyone have any questions on these?
I do real quick.
Okay.
Maybe General Manager Macy could answer this. Heavy equipment certification, we're talking about training our employees to be able to use the backhoe and that kind of thing.
Yes, it's additional certifications than what we had originally budgeted. We've gotten some new employees. You saw one of them today. That's going into that effort. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board, Director Martin? Vice President Griffith? I also have none on this particular topic. Is there anything from the public today is for where we are?
Not online, President Duff.
Thank you. Proceed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. On this slide, you will see the increases to current capital projects. The total net increase to capital projects is approximately $2.6 million. You could see the comprehensive list of increases and decreases to all capital projects on page 1 of the PDF provided titled Revised Capital Budget and Continuing Appropriations. We are requesting an increase of $120,000 to the Area J2 sewer project due to a cost share agreement with the Army Corps of Engineers. We are requesting an increase of $340,000 for the designing and engineering for areas H and I. This is also due to a cost sharing agreement with the Army Corps of Engineers. We are recommending to combine the chlorine enclosures project with the modular enclosure chlorine equipment at well sites project for a net effect of $0. You will see the corresponding reduction in project 11851 of the referenced PDF. We are requesting an increase of $507,000 to the design and engineering for areas A and G project due to a cost sharing agreement with the Army Corps of Engineers. At the workshop, I presented a request to combine the 153,000 block wall at Corporate Yard project, 200,000 from the block wall at Terrace Reservoir project, 302,000 from the payment repairs at Corporate Yard project, and 100,000 from the admin office repairs project, and combine that into the admin building project. The 200,000 from the block wall at Terrace Reservoir project should not have been included, so I have backed it out now. The net effect is $0.
For interrupting, is there supposed to be another slide here or?
Oh, no. So I'm just speaking on the increases to capital projects now. And then if you look at page 1 of the PDF provided, it does have a list of all increases.
So it's following along.
Yeah. So you're seeing the increase to the capital project here, but you're not seeing the corresponding decreases on this slide, but you can see it on the PDF. So.
All right, thank you. That's again that.
We are requesting an additional 49,000 for the GQPP area D31 sewer project for the district share related to an agreement with the Army Corps of Engineers. We are requesting an increase of 517,000 to the Energy Conservation and Efficiency Plan project, and I believe Danny would like to speak on this one.
Thank you, Skylar. Good afternoon, President Duff, members of the board. I want to apologize. During the workshop, when we went over this the first time, there was a little mix-up on my understanding. I thought we were going to have a question and answer period towards the end, and then we closed it up. So what I'm going to talk about today is why we're requesting this, but more importantly, there's been some requests in past board meetings as to the idea that this was going to be a no-cost project for the district. So currently we have a $555,000 budget amount. And one of the things that was asked is, as I mentioned, is this project was, this job number was created originally when we started working with the NG team for the bigger project that was going to be a purchase. The district for that project between staff time, consultant time, expended $141,000 towards the NG project. To date, out of the 555,000 current budget, we spent 330,000 on the PPA project. What I would like to remind everybody, give me a second, got notes on 2 different devices here, so excuse me. One of the things I wanted to remind everybody of is in February of 24, when we were bringing the idea of a PPA to the board, and one of the first slides in the presentation from Kenwood Energy was we expected to spend about $500,000 to complete this project. One of the items to remember also is we were the lead agency, and so we were responsible for the contract. So most of the costs that we've seen on the front end was contract negotiation. So we went back and forth, had to determine whether this project was a viable PPA project. It became, we've done presentations to the board. Our Kenwood Energy, who's our expert on as far as solar goes, had looked at that. We had other items that we wanted to do on this project, which would include, excuse me, the environmental project management, construction management, and inspection. Of course, we have labor compliance and we have staff time. So there are weekly meetings that we have for the project. So we charge our staff time to that. If you recall, last month, I did bring a contract to the board, which was for Kenwood Energy, and we had to increase that by $80,000. One of the reasons we did that is in the front end of this project, we did have potential litigation and we were going back and forth. We had legal involved. So the contract instrument that we used, which was mainly for the project management and construction management, was essentially just expended. And then we had to bring that amendment to the board. So the increases for this project today is to complete the project, to continue with our project management, our construction management, our inspection. We're using a third-party inspector. And of course, staff time for meetings. Additionally, when it comes to the CEQA component, one of the items that we didn't anticipate was a tribal monitor. And so those costs are also been incorporated. Right now, they're about, they're expected to go to about $60,000 when it's all said and done. So those are the reasons why we increased, or we're asking for the increase to finish the project. The other item is to provide you where we were when we spent the money with the NG group. I wasn't present. I was on vacation and I didn't have it ready for today, but I believe also one of the things that General Manager Macy provided, or it was Kenwood, was a slide that talked about the payback. So even when we take this project, we'll bring it to just slightly over $1 million in cost for the district. I believe it has about a 3.5-year payback. So that was one of the things I believe it was. Mike, am I correct on the actual? That was a workshop that I missed.
It was a workshop, yes.
Okay, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. Director Meyerhoffen, do you have any questions?
I was under the impression it wasn't going to cost us any money.
Is that a statement or a question?
Both.
I know that was, it's been something that's been mentioned as I guess the idea is an $18 million project that we're going to spend money on. We're not spending money on the project per se. We're spending money on managing the project and the project completed. So we're not spending money to do any improvements to receive the benefits. We're just spending money on all the staff time and consultant time to manage it essentially. So as I mentioned, I'm not sure if you were present at the board meeting, but the presentation that was provided when we brought the PPA concept to the board stated that we would spend $500,000.
I went along with it. I always said that these solar panels, by the time we get them put in, will be outdated. By the time we get this done, they definitely will be outdated, and there'll be better ways to provide electricity, but we're already into this. So my next question here would be well 33 solar site repairs for $225,000. What's going on there?
Can I interrupt actually? Can we go back to that when we get to that? Let's just ask questions of the section here so that I can get Director Martin and.
That's fine. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No worries. Director Martin, do you have any questions regarding this line item here? And how about you, Vice President?
Kind of, sort of. Refresh my memory. Did we not have to start construction of all this before March 2026 to qualify for the credits? Is that what I remember?
It's actually April 15th.
April 15th. Okay.
So yeah, so this project consists of 3 sites: the Horton site, which we are essentially completed, and the regional site, which is currently under construction. The last site is a Res BCT tariff.
That deadline isn't for the Res BCT.
Correct.
It's just for the other 2, right?
Correct.
I just want to make sure that we've kind of gotten that started so we don't miss anything.
So we had a meeting this morning, and the date that is projected is March 18th, which is the end of construction. Everybody has verified. That's given us roughly a month to be ahead of it. So we are, at this point in time, there's nothing that's going to hold us back from that. So it's the completion of construction which triggers the meeting that component. So I would like to add, just as a reminder, this is a PPA project. At the end of the day, we don't pay for the infrastructure. We get the cost. There is a roughly a $14 million payback for the district as far as the benefits that we're going to see. So with respect to the technology, the contractor is either going to pay us to ensure that we get what we agreed to in the original agreement that we brought to the board, or they're likely going to go ahead and improve the solar panels to whatever technology is needed. But at the end of the day, they own, operate, and maintain the system.
No, I just want to, that was in my head. We got to get this done by a certain time. So
Yeah. So the NEM 2.0 is what you're referring to
Yeah, it's a NEM.
specifically.
Yeah.
And that has a completion date for April 14th, 2026.
Cool.
There isn't one for the RESB CT. That's why that project is put to the end.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then if I could just have you, first of all, I want to note that Director Sewell has arrived and is present. If we could note the record, I'd appreciate it. And then we're currently talking about the mid-year budget.
Thank
The one question I'd like just to have you re-clarify. When we originally had done this, it was around $500,000 was our estimate for the budget for staff time and consultants. What will the final number after this augmentation? And I know it's not final, but what's the total number, including what was spent with NG at the beginning and this 517,110? Do you have just the total for us?
So the request before you is for $1,117,000. So that is the 517 on top of the 555.
Thank you.
So we did actually put some contingency in there. We've got staff time. We've got additional consultant time for PM and CM and inspection.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And Director Sewell, do you have any questions regarding this particular topic here, the energy conservation and efficiency plan?
No, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if we could continue, please.
Thank you, Danny. We are requesting $93,750 for geographic information systems related to our CityWorks implementation. We are requesting $129,000 for our Well 28 rehabilitation project. We are requesting to combine our Well 29 Chromium 6 treatment design with our Chrome 6 treatment well facilities project for a net increase of $0. We are requesting $45,000 for a new DHS monitoring well project based on a prior bid that we received for a monitoring well. Lastly, we are requesting an increase of $225,000 to our Well 33 solar site repairs projects. And then before we continue, do we have any questions?
I know that we do have one on this particular topic. Thank you. Director Meyerhoffen, did you have a question regarding this issue?
We're up here on well 28.
We're at Well 33, Res BCT solar site repairs.
Got that. I'm sorry, I got to thinking about something there. So yes, please explain to me why we have solar site repairs here on this well.
So I'd like to just start with where we were when we started this project. The district did receive a almost $3.5 million grant to construct the existing solar project. With that agreement, it also provided a maintenance agreement. We were in about the first 3.5 years, and then we switched companies to a company called Trident because SunPower, the company that we contracted with, were eliminating their maintenance division. It later became clear that they filed for bankruptcy. And so
You said Trident, but I think you meant Total Energies.
thank you. I didn't actually mean Total Energies. Trident's are obviously our new company. Thank you for that correction. So Total Energies was a company that came in and provided the maintenance. Unfortunately, the maintenance for them, they weren't doing as great of a job as we expected them to do. But they also said that they wanted to stop. We're currently we've had for about the last 2 years, involved legal to provide correspondence to let them know what the original agreement is. What we're really arguing about is possibly 30,000 in our favor. And so while we have put a pause on that because it doesn't really make a lot of sense to go after that, we focused more on getting the site corrected. That was one of the directions that the board had provided to staff. As you drive by, you saw that it wasn't. They were, that system is particularly a tracking system, so it has a single axis tracking. So when you drive by it, you have some areas that are laying flat, some areas that are all cattywampus. So what happened is we reached out to 5 companies, and one was responsive, which is PBCA. You've likely seen that name come up in my GM reports for General Manager Macy, as well as other items when we're bringing them for contracts. The PBCA has been responsive. They initially came in and took care of our ask, which was get the site functioning. And so they determined why certain things. It was some wiring, a couple of bad connections. With the issue with SunPower, their portal went away. So we could not monitor what was happening at that site. So one of the benefits that working with PVCA is they found a kind of a, what would you call that? Just a general access to a portal that they can connect to.
Yes.
And so they were able to get us connected so we can start seeing the performance. So knowing that they also provided us a more comprehensive repair, we focused on some of the, just let's get some of the replacement parts, let's get the things completely working. So now that we can get everything either stowed in a flat position so there's no more wind damage, we wanted to go ahead and take a look at some of the missing panels, some of the bad inverters. So that was the next step. So we took another chunk of work and gave it to PVCA so they can get the entire site working. So while the entire site is currently working, less a couple of panels, the cost that we're requesting in the mid-year budget is to address exactly that. One of the things that's happened is due to the lack of proper maintenance, some of the cracks have grown to larger cracks. So the repairs are much larger than just taking care of it ahead of time. One of the other items is the tracking in one side versus the other side doesn't work. So they've been resourceful. They've taken the motors out of one side, put them on the other side to see if they can just get them tracked back down to a flat, to a stow level. Unfortunately, things like that didn't work because the repairs are beyond the motors and the controllers. So essentially what we're do as far as a request for the budget is to take the site, repair it completely through the tracking. One of the things to recognize is a conservative amount of about 20 to 25%. If you have a tracking versus a fixed base, you have about 20 to 25% more power generation. So the idea was to get the site back to what it is intended as far as functioning and generating power. The other item is Kenwood Energy has been working with the district and has prepared an RFP. Well, we purposely held back on the RFP with the idea that we don't want to give a maintenance company something that has a bunch of repairs. So what we wanted to do is get the site working, retain a maintenance company, and they can start from fresh. One thing I will tell you, this is like, people say if you change your oil every 3,000 miles, you're going to be fine. You're going to have other repairs. I will say that repairs on a site like this, especially one that tracks, you're going to have them. They're in a heavy wind area. And so getting that site up to what it should be as far as power generation is the most important part for us so that we can have a competent maintenance company, one that if there are issues, we address those issues right away. And that's what I'm saying. There are going to be other maintenance costs. You just can't repair it and expect that it's going to be there for the next 10 years. So, but the idea for us is if we have an issue, let's get it corrected. If you see that there's a crack and we can take care of it for a couple $1,000s versus having to replace a complete component, that's where we want to get. So that's the reason why we're asking for that money today.
How much money are we saving on electricity with this site?
I don't have that figure. I can bring it on Monday or Tuesday. I know it's north of $150,000 a year.
So it's going to take us approximately another 2 years to get this money back, because it probably will. You got another contingency in there for another 10 or 20% on this contract.
If we use my figure, yeah, I got mathematics. But yeah, I don't know what that number is, but I can bring that number to you on Tuesday and we can talk about the payback.
That would be nice to figure out where we're at financially, what we're saving, what we're spending now on this.
Yeah.
The other concern that goes back to our $18 million site. We have 7 well sites there. All of them are under a separate contract with LLCs. Every well site, if I remember correctly, 7 different ones. And I'm really concerned that we won't end up in the same spot here with this $18 million project that we got going on.
For clarification,
That may not be an answer for you. It might be for the general manager. I'm not sure.
So first, I'd like to remind what I said earlier, which is this project was paid for through a grant. So what we're out today versus what we've already received, we received in savings 3 times what the cost that we're asking for today. And that's just a point of clarification. As far as what you're referring to, I do want to clear it up. The project that I spoke to earlier, there's 3 sites. What we did is we started off with 7 sites. We brought back an amendment to the front of the board. The board has agreed to the 3 sites. So there are no 7 sites. So as far as, I don't know how to answer the question as far as if it will end up the same way. This is, I don't know how to answer that. If you would like to, General Manager Macy.
They're a little bit different in scope in that the existing facility that's around well 33, the rest BCT, we actually own that facility. And then we have a maintenance contract, and the maintenance contract is what Total Energies was given, and they then went bankrupt, and we've had an issue with them for the last couple of years. The project that we're doing that we talked about earlier in the energy conservation and efficiency plan is 3 locations, and that's gone through a power purchase agreement where we simply purchase the power at a reduced rate, what we would normally see from Edison. So there's 2 different distinctions. One we own, one we're leasing the area to another company, a third party, and then we're buying the power that is generated from those facilities. Both of them have a cost perspective that is much less than the current Edison rate. And we hope that that delta continues as energy costs continue to increase. Our the solar field that we have, the own, will still be getting that benefit, and then the delta will increase as that power purchase agreement, because we have just a set cost for the energy that's being produced. So there's 2 different scenarios that they operate under. And then the PPA, actually, they're required to do all of the maintenance. So there's just 2 different ownership situations.
Thank you for that clarification and separating those two.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great. Director Sewell, do you have any questions or comments?
More of just a curiosity. The 3 sites that we're implementing now, are those going to be tracking or they're going to be fixed?
So the Horton and the current one that's under construction, regional, are fixed, and the ResBCT will be a track system.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Director Martin? Vice President?
Nope.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Continue.
Thank you, Denny. All right, so on this final slide, you will see new projects that we are recommending. We are requesting $215,000 for a well 26A resin exchange. The resin in the uranium treatment train is due for replacement. We are requesting $205,000 for a well 26 rehabilitation. After a downhole inspection, it was determined that repairs and treatment of the downhole material will need to be completed. We are requesting $50,000 for well 26A repairs. This is to complete a downhole inspection and make any necessary repairs. Lastly, we are requesting $15,000 for an odor control unit media replacement at the Nancy Wright facility. The useful life of the current one was lower than expected due to the lower volume being processed at the facility. This concludes my PowerPoint presentation and brings me to the PDFs provided. And do you have any questions before we move on?
Go ahead.
Odor control unit media replacement. The one you have now is working correctly. The statement there was.
It's not.
Yeah.
This was part of the workshop too, but please go ahead.
Thank you. The item here is for our regional plant.
Right.
So what I spoke with the board on at the workshop was what it does is it collects the H2S gases, the hydrogen sulfide, and what it's done is it saturated the current media. So with the startup of the plant, dealing with the way there's always a lot of startup operational issues in the beginning. So what staff is doing right now is they're working through the treatment process where they inject certain chemicals or different chemicals at different levels than they are today. And the idea is should be able to mitigate that. But what we've had today is we've exhausted the media that's in the actual odor control.
Okay, so it's time to get it replaced. We don't have another 6 months, a year, or we can't wait a little long. I'm all for buying what you need right now because it's cheaper than a year from now. But I also like to just wear it out what we have until you can't use it anymore.
Essentially, that's what we have. So when media inside of an odor control is saturated, it doesn't actually do odor control.
Okay.
Just as a reminder, there's a big pipe venting system that basically collects all the areas of the heavy odor, and that's what runs it through the media. And so when that media is saturated, it no longer do what it needs to do. So Under our permit, we have odor control as a requirement, so we need to go ahead and get it functional.
I'm all for that. Nobody wants to be driving down Dillon Road or the freeway and smell it, the sewer plant. So thank you for the explanation.
Thank you, Director. Director Martin, do you have anything?
No.
Director Sewell? Vice President Griffith? Continue.
Oh, thank you. All right, now this brings me to the PDFs provided. Okay, and you will see the revised capital budget and continuing appropriations on pages 1 through 3. This is the comprehensive list of capital mid-year budget requests that we originally discussed. You will see I added the blue column titled mid-year budget request to separate the mid-year requests from the original budget requests for clarity and transparency purposes. You will see the total on page 3 matches the 2.6 million that we discussed. And then the next page contains more detail of the fiscal year 2026 revised budget amounts separated by fund with the grand total. You will see the same amounts on the grand total column as seen in the PowerPoint presentation. Operating expenses were updated to 27.8 million, which brings the total change in net position to 19.3 million. And then on the next page, we present the fiscal year 2025 revised budget amounts. You will see amounts are consistent with fiscal year 2026. We budgeted 27.3 million in operating expenses with the total change in net position of $20 million. The next page compares the revised budgets for both fiscal years 2026 and 2025. You can see the difference between the two on the right. You will see operating revenues and expenses remain consistent. In non-operating revenue, you will see budgeted grant revenue decrease by 3.6 million in fiscal year 2026, partially offset with an increase of investment income of 1.7 million. This brings the fiscal year 2026 budgeted change in net position to 19.3 million, as opposed to the 20 million in fiscal year 2025. The next page also compares the fiscal year 2026 and 2025 revised budgets, but groups them by function as opposed to operating versus non-operating in the previous pages. For revenues, the largest differences you will see are the decrease to grant revenues and the increase to investment income. Expenses by function remain consistent with a small increase to salaries and wages, mostly offset with a decrease to outside services. This brings us to the same change in net position that you have seen of 19.3 million for fiscal year 2026 and 20 million for fiscal year 2025. And then do we have any questions before we move to the final page?
None? None?
No.
Proceed, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on the final page, we show the State Water Resources Control Board grant information for our sewer fund. You will see the grant total of 68.6 million, as well as the remaining balance to request reimbursement of 11.6 million. We are expecting to receive 936,000 from the state for previously submitted reimbursement requests. You will also see that I corrected the sum issue on the rejected costs total for a total of 82,000. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available to answer any further questions.
Director Martin, Vice President Griffith, Director Sewell, Director Marhoven.
We're going to have some general comments on this, right, from the board after the presentation? Or do you want me to say something?
Well, if you, about this particular slide,
Right.
and if you have general, we can do it at the.
And that does actually conclude my price.
Okay, so it's done.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So whatever you need to say.
Okay.
Hmm.
Was it 6 months ago when we had the 10 citizens come in here and look at our budget? 6 months has gone by already. Time flies when you're having fun. I think that first of all, Mission Springs Water District is probably the only district that in the state of California, maybe, that had 10 of their citizens come from different walks of life and that to look over our budget 6 months ago. So my concern when I first saw this was if they're watching, how much of a difference and will they agree with what we're doing? And I think about 90% of it they probably will agree with. So I think you guys done a good job, and I'm glad that we haven't gone too far off base from 6 months ago, and that the way this was presented, that our 10 citizens who got involved will understand it. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Sewell?
I'll echo what Director Meyerhoffen said. Great presentation. Thank you for all the information.
Thank you very much.
Director Martin? Vice President Griffin? Okay, so I'll chime in just a little bit. First of all, thank you for the details. Thank you for correcting and updating those things that we found on the workshop. And I appreciate the explanations behind some of the changes that you were able to provide. It gives us a much better picture. And to mimic what Director Meyerhoffen was saying, because the CLEAR committee did what they did, we're able to be saying yes and moving forward in expending some of these funds we've been holding for these projects. So I am grateful for the work done, looking forward to a balanced budget at the end. And thank you for the presentation. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Is there any comments or questions from the public regarding item 9?
President Duff, not online.
Thank you very much. So we're going to move along to item number 10, Administrative and Water Management Services, MDN Water Management Services, Inc. It is recommended to authorize the general manager to renew a contract agreement with MDN Water Management Services, Inc. for administrative and water management services for 1 year, starting February 1st, 2026, ending January 31st, 2027, with a not to exceed cost of $140,000. General Manager Macy.
Thank you, President Duff. I'll ask Assistant General Manager Marion Champion to present this item. Marion?
Thank you, General Manager Macy. Good afternoon again, members of the board. Today, I have before you in your packet a 1-year contract renewal with MDN Water Management Services for administrative and water management support, along with as-needed grant management and compliance services for funding awarded from state and federal agencies. Mike Nesser, who heads up the MDN, has been instrumental in the district's reimbursement requests for both the Nancy Wright and the Conveyance Line projects, as well as some of our reimbursements for projects like our FEMA reimbursements following Hurricane Hilary. In addition to this, he has played a pivotal role in the development of our annual budget and FCAR documents, ensuring that we meet and exceed all GFOA transparency requirements. In November 2024, staff advertised a request for qualifications for administrative and water management services through Planet Bids. The district received 2 proposals, and MDN Water Management Services was rated as the best firm to provide these services. Under our current procurement policy, we have the ability to extend this contract another year. However, its dollar amount does require that we come to the board for approval. I believe Mike, who many of you have probably heard us speak very favorably about, is here today on the Zoom. He has more than 25 years of these types of services, and he's been a great asset to the district. Mike, would you like to say a few words?
Just a couple. I just wanted to say that I think we have a really awesome working relationship with staff at Mission Springs, and I'm glad that we're continuing to take advantage of that, both of us. I think it's mutually beneficial, and we really enjoy working with Mission Springs. That's it.
Thank you.
Any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer for you.
Thank you.
I would just like to hear that guitar play you got in the back.
I've been working on a couple recordings. I'll send you some.
Perfect. Does that conclude the staff presentation? Director Martin, do you have any questions for staff or Mr. Nusser?
No.
Director Meyerhoffen? Director Sewell?
No thanks.
Vice President Griffith? Thank you, Mr. Nusser. We appreciate you and your partnership, and thank you for helping our team succeed.
Thank you.
All right. Anything further from staff? Any public questions or comments? Public questions or comments? Apologize. I thought that was on.
President Duff, not online.
Thank you. All right, moving on to agenda number 11, Public Water System Construction Agreement and Water Bonding Agreement for the Desert Grow Development. It is recommended to approve the Public Water System Construction Agreement and the Water Bonding Agreement for the Desert Grow Development Project and authorize the general manager to do all things necessary to complete and execute the agreements. General Manager.
Thank you, President Duff. I'll ask our engineering manager, Eric Weck, to give this presentation. Eric?
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, President Duff and members of the board. Item 11 of this afternoon's agenda is about the proposed development located at 65128 Palomar Lane. This development is a proposed cultivation facility and sits on 1.2 acres and will construct one building with a total area of 6,084 square feet with some parking and some landscaping and other improvements. The City of Desert Hot Springs executed a conditional use permit, CUP number 22-12 for this parcel. The plans have recently been approved by the district, and this agenda item pertains just to the public water system construction agreements and bonding agreement that's needed by the district for this proposed development. Are there any questions?
Director Merhoffen?
Could you please explain where it says here, water connection, 12-inch ductile iron pipe? What kind of pipe is that? And I only ask that question because we always see, we go back 20 years and we see the old pipes. So it's nice to know it's being replaced with something new and that people won't have to worry about drinking out of a bad pipe 20, 30 years from now. So I was wondering, Eric, if you wouldn't be able to elaborate a little bit on what the water will be coming through to the residential?
Well, it's a 12-inch diameter ductile iron pipe that will be connected to the water line that exists. I believe that's in Little Morongo Road. It'll be constructed easterly from Little Morongo Road to the project site on Palomar Lane. And it will serve that one property.
And this pipe, I don't know, maybe General Manager Macy might be able to answer. What's it made from? What is the ductile? It's a coating inside the iron part of the pipe?
It's just a standard iron pipe. It's a little bit more, by ductile, it means it's a little bit more malleable and it can take a little bit more abuse, but in reality, it's a rigid pipe that conveys the water. This particular model can handle pressures up to 250 PSI. So it's really what you'll see when you go down the corporate yard, the black pipe that's laying around the yard that we have for extra and any leaks or things like that. So it's a normal class of pipe that's used all through the United States and the world.
And what is the life expectancy of this pipe?
This pipe is anywhere from 75 to 100 years old from that, or 100 years from that perspective. Some other things that you may see blue pipe at some type. That's also a water line pipe. It's a little bit more flexible and but it may be a little bit cheaper to install, but we require ductile iron pipe here at the district.
Somewhere around 75, 100 years from now, I may be seeing it being dug back up again.
Potentially, yes. Potentially, but we hope not.
Director Martin, do you have any questions? Vice President Griffith?
Nothing.
Okay, I have one. And if it needs to be addressed at a different time, just say so, General Manager. I am concerned with these new developments when there is no plan for sewer. Can we get some clarification on when they will be required to provide piping and where the sewer will have to go for this particular development when we're ready for it to go there? And what does that process look like? I know this is for their water only. So what happens to make sure it goes to sewer?
So there is no sewer other than Little Morongo, but this particular project is to flow easterly into the south. We did have a sewer study years ago that addresses this particular area, but that sewer was never extended up Cabot Road to get to this location. So what we're going to start doing moving forward is working with the regional board to make sure we're making a basin amendment to make sure that these properties do have proper sewer or at least tie in when it's there. Staff has been working with all the developers and realizing recognizing that there are some locations where we may have to put dry sewer, even though it doesn't connect to something. So when the sewer is there, the sewer is already in place underneath pavement. So we are working with the regional board and hope to get that basin amendment, and then well as working with the developers as these properties come online. Unfortunately, for this particular project, we're just not prepared to put a dry pipe in at this time. So we will work harder in the future to make sure that we have those elevations and those sizes so we can do it appropriately during construction of these types of facilities.
Yeah, it's a big concern for me, as you know, with the constituents that I've worked with, and in that we've got to make sure that if we're giving them the water, what comes out is taken care of properly. And that's a problem that we're experiencing a lot. So I do have concern with our plans for that entire area that seems to be kind of a hot spot of continued development for these industrial purposes. So I just wanted to note that concern, and I appreciate your
Thank you.
clarification. Thank you very much. I have no further questions. Any public questions regarding this issue? All right, seeing
President
none.
Duff, not online.
Thank you. Seeing none, we'll move forward to agenda number 12, First Amendment to contract agreement with B81 Paving Inc. for pavement repairs for water and sewer projects for 2025-2026. It is recommended to authorize the general manager to amend the contract agreement with B81 Paving Inc. titled Pavement Repairs for Water and Sewer Projects for 2025 through 2026. The amendment will add $180,000 to the contract amount, increasing the total amount from $250 to a not exceed of $430, and authorize $430,000, and authorize the general manager to take all necessary actions to complete that project. General Manager Macy.
Thank you, President Duff. I'll ask our Director of Operations, Danny Friend, to present on this item. Danny?
Thank you, General Manager Macy. Good afternoon again. President Duff, members of the board. I wanted to start with just a reminder of what we've had on this contract specifically. About 2.5 years ago, staff brought a multi-year, a 3-year contract to the board for $250,000 a year for our paving efforts. Last year, you may recall that staff brought a similar item, which was a $400,000, so $150,000 increase. And for the same reasons this year as last year, one of the things that the district has done is it made an agreement with the city of Desert Hot Springs that we get all of our paving done preferably in 30 days, but they're giving us as far as 90 days. So one of the items that we have done is we were initially bringing this to the board for a $250,000 increase, or I'm sorry, up to $400,000 increase. But some of the things that we're adding to this is earlier in the budget, you saw a consolidation of a chlorine enclosure during the mid-year presentation. And so what that is the district is also upgrading our chlorine buildings to modernize them and allow us to put in our analyzers and protect the electronics. In order for that to happen, they need a concrete slab. So the additional money onto this request is asking for monies to, and that's within the scope of the actual contract. It's Exhibit A, or Attachment A, excuse me. And so we're going to be doing 3 slabs for wells 28, 30, and 32 so that we can upgrade the chlorine buildings there. Also, due to safety reasons, we've been looking at the back parking lot here at the administration building. There are some cracks that we've had issues with, some slips, and we also have some striping that is faded. So what we're also doing is amending the scope for this contract to include the repairs of the parking lot where we can do crack fill, slurry, and then restripe it. Right now, there's some parking spots that are hard to even determine where they are. So those are some of the reasons why we're actually bringing this contract for an amendment. One of the things that I will say is we are in the last year of this agreement. So in June of this year, we're working on it today, or right now, staff is working on an RFP. We'll be putting that RFP out and bringing back a request, hopefully prior to June, effective July 1, a new contract. I don't know who it will be, but based on where the contract costs come in, or I'm sorry, based on where the bids come in, there have been some increases. In this case, fortunately, the contractor has actually held his prices. But in anticipation of a increase when we bring our proposals back, we may actually ask for the initial contract to be more than $300 or $250,000 from a start. But the reason, again, this is mainly to go ahead and get caught back up with our paving. We've had some bigger leaks that have caused some large areas where we focused on that before we can get to these others. So now we're kind of get back to stay current and get caught back up so that we're no longer dealing with those that are past 90 days. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Director Martin, do you have any questions?
No.
Director Meyerhoffen? Director Sewell? Vice President Griffith?
Yes. Will you be striping Director Martin Bird parking space? I see he wasn't there today. Maybe he couldn't see the lines.
Thank you, Director Griffith. I appreciate the comment.
I was kind of hoping for a reserved section for me out there in the parking lot.
That's a senior one.
We'll stripe it to get the maximized spaces that we can and have the room for parking for our staff. And
Yeah,
Neon for his old eyes too.
Director Martin, I was hoping for the same thing. That way you can just pull in right next to me, won't have to worry about your car getting dinged by another door.
Works for me.
Yeah.
Let's see why that can't be done.
I just have one question. Sorry to move along. I just have one question. You mentioned the agreement we have with the city has caused the increase because of the requirement to get everything that we're working on finalized pavement within 90 days of completion, or are we having to pave while we wait for a part, reopen, pave again? I'm just trying to understand
so
the meaning of that.
So staff met with the city, specifically the Public Works and their engineering department. We've had areas where some of our patches were they had to be maintained. They had some complaints about how rough it was. They were getting older than some of them were older than 6 months. And so we made an effort to initially in the first year to try to get caught up and realize that we just couldn't get caught up. So starting last year, we increased our budget to go ahead and get caught up. And that's why we brought this to the board last year. Again, this year, realizing that last year we had some larger leaks that we addressed, we still had a surplus of leaks, of repairs that were well beyond the 90 days.
Okay.
So the agreement is a mutual agreement so that we can just ensure that their streets are getting restored back to the way they were. They're not receiving complaints. We're not receiving complaints. So our goal is now within 90 days, hopefully within 60 days, we're getting out there. So we're trying to get caught up. So that's why we, again, this year in our current budget have requested the budget to match this. And we anticipated this when we were preparing this current budget, but that's what we're trying to do.
And how many locations estimated? I'm not asking for an exact, but how many are over 90 days or over 60 days?
I don't have that for you. One of the other things is also maintained. We want to be able to get to the end of this year. We've had a few extra leaks that we haven't expected, but anticipated. But I don't have that number.
Okay.
So I know that we constantly. So even though I mentioned like 100 repairs, that should have been edited. A lot of our repairs are small bell holes, as they refer to them, 3x4.
Mm-hmm.
And so many times when we're doing invoices, we're doing 40 to 45 at a time. So we're also trying to accommodate the city, but we're also trying to work it out with the contractor. The last thing we want to do is to come out for about maybe 2 hours of work. So we like to have them come out 2 or 3 days of work. And so that's been a good working relationship with us in B81.
Okay.
So I can get that number.
It was just a curiosity number as to how many, we're looking at. I just, as a resident here and I drive around and there's still torn up parts from other utility work that was done last year that hasn't been finalized or completed. So I'm just wondering if it was additional pressure on us or because we're easy to work with, or is this, it sounds like it was a mutual agreement for the satisfaction of the residents, which I'm always approved of.
Being it's a public meeting, the way I'll answer that is we're aware that there are other utilities that aren't conforming to the agreement that we have with the city. So we've been in communication with them.
Okay.
Will you let me know what you would have said if it wasn't a public meeting?
I just didn't want to speak badly about another organization.
No, and I didn't name names. I just was curious as to why it seemed like a strong mandate for us when I see other utilities not held to the same standard. So thank you for that clarification. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's an agreement. We didn't have an issue with it. Honestly, it should be how we operate. And due to other circumstances, we've been still playing catch up from years past. So we do respond to larger leaks, and sometimes when you get something that is 10 by 10,
Mhm.
it's something that we want to get there and take care of that, and it takes away
Sure.
from actually doing some of the other smaller stuff. So
Well, I appreciate your clarifications on that. Thank you so much. Are there any other questions from the board? Any questions from the public or comments?
President Duff, not online.
Seeing none and hearing none, we will move on. Thank you, Mr. Friend.
thank you.
That'll bring us to agenda number 13, Second Amendment to Contract Agreement with Lead Electronic, Inc. for on-call electrical maintenance and repair services. It is recommended to authorize the general manager to amend the contract agreement with Lead Electronic, Inc. titled On-Call Electrical Maintenance and Repair Services. The amendment will add $155,000 to the contract amount, increasing the total from $100,000 to a not to exceed amount of $255,000, and authorize the general manager to take all necessary actions to complete the project. General Manager Macy.
Thank you, President Duff. I'll ask the Director of Operations, Danny Friend, to provide this item. Danny?
Thank you again, General Manager Macy. Good afternoon once again. So it's just like the previous item. We've got on-call contracts. We've got them for pipeline construction. We've got them for repairs for water and sewer. In this particular case, similar to the previous item, we brought, well, in this case, they were within the general manager limit. So I take that back. Staff actually executed 3 on-call contracts. And currently, we're asking to amend Lead Electric's contract because of a few items that we've had happen in the last month. One of the items was a major issue with an outage at the Horton plant. And so what it was, and it ended up being on Christmas Eve. We had staff out. We determined that Lead Electric was responsive. They came out on Christmas Day. They were able to determine that we had a main breaker. At that time, we didn't know what the cause was. Again, the breaker was 26 years old. And so they were able to source the issue and troubleshoot it. They were able to source a refurbished item. They don't make this new any longer. So whatever you pick up is refurbished. They made that during their emergency response. They actually picked it up on a Sunday, and they were here on a Monday morning to put us back on the 29th to get us back on permanent power. So we operated under generated power, and that story continues. We had 2 days of free and clear. And of course, you also could remember we had wet weather during both of those holidays. And in the evening of New Year's Eve, we had another outage. And so we went back up on generator power. We thought maybe there's an issue with what they put in. So naturally, we called them back out. They determined after an outage, well, the reality is they pulled in a specialty company because what they'd had, the issue was they exhausted every issue we had. And that company came in, helped us on a Saturday. We had a requested outage with Edison. We determined we had a breaker go bad again. And so we remained on generator power until Monday, when we were during working hours. We were able to, and I back up. One of the things after we didn't want to go through this again. So the breaker that we took out, the original breaker, we took it to the same, let's call it the breaker repair shop. So we took it to the breaker repair shop and said, let's go ahead and get this refurbished to new. They test it to all the requirements of a new item. We'll put it back in place, and we'll take the one that we purchased and we'll have it as a shelf on a backup. So that was the intention. So come back on the Monday, we called them, and the nice thing for us was we were able to get it picked up a day and a half later. They actually started tearing it apart. They had already got it repaired and corrected. So some of the backstory, I won't get into details, but like I said, on the weekend, we were looking at mutual aid. We were working with other agencies to provide backup generator to our backup generator, which if it sounds kind of funny, but those are the things that we have to conform to. As many may know, that there is a requirement to have backup generation in our permit. So what we wanted to do is, if something happened with our permanent backup generator, we had problems. So we just wanted to be able to have mitigation plans to put in place. So we worked through the weekend, and fortunately, we got back on that Monday. They got the other item picked up. During that time when they were having it picked up and we were waiting for it to be completed, the contractor did determine that due to some condensation, that's what happened. The condensation actually came down straight above the contactors, and that's what blew the meter. So, or the breaker. So we're working. Staff worked with a lead to install the refurbished again. Staff worked to do some improvements over the top of that. So if we do have condensation drip, it will no longer go directly on top of the contactors. They also built a lean-to structure over that panel so that it's just not subject to any type of rain and if there was any intrusion. So we're good there. One of the other items I want to talk about, what I opened up with, is we have 3 contracts. Unfortunately for us, one of the other contractors, McDonald Electric, they just became too busy, and they opted to move forward with their termination. There was no bad relationship. It's just we've got $1 million projects. We've got $500,000. We just don't have time to really service you, which was an impact for us. But the good thing is, lead came in and they provided this as equal service. If I have to like quote what our chief plant operator said, Brad Adams, is, I've never worked with a contractor that has performed like this ever, coming out on holidays. So it was a good thing for us. But the point in bringing up McDonald Electric is, once we lost them as one of our we basically had $70,000 left of their contract. So one of the items that we're trying to do here is trying to bring so we're trying to deal with the unexpected repairs that we had that I just explained. Plus, we're also trying to bring the costs over to incorporate into this contract in a sense. So we're at mid-year, so that we can continue to move through the end of this year, hopefully with nothing major. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Director Meyerhoffen, any questions?
No.
Director Martin?
No.
Vice President?
No.
Director Sewell?
I had seen that in the general manager's report, so I'm just happy to hear they're so responsive, and then we got it all sorted out. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I have one, and maybe it's what you were just talking about, but I've never heard this name before. The Red Bud Reservoir.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that?
So Red Bud Reservoir is one of our reservoirs off of Red Bud Drive,
Okay.
and it has a booster station, and there's the reason why there's power at that site. The panel box at that site I've been here over 28 years, so it's probably over 3 decades old at least. But it's got some safety concerns. It needs to be updated. So one of the things that we did right now that we know is, we expected to be able to put it onto this contract because lead is because of the bids that we received. But all the other stuff that I talked about, we had to amend the contract first. But the cost that we're doing here is also to be able to have funds in place to deal with any type of scheduled or emergency work for both the wastewater and the water sides going forward to the end of the fiscal year, and also bringing this project in as well.
And this will include upgrading that Red Bud.
Correct. So what we did is, knowing that we had that in the queue, we wanted to make sure that
Combined.
yeah. So when I spoke with staff and we sat down, it's like, okay, what do we need to get to the end of the year? All right. Oh, I also have this. I forgot. We also have this proposal. So we want to make sure we get that taken care of this year.
Perfect. Well, I want to personally thank all the staff members and Lead Electronic and their specialists that were called in and worked during the holidays to provide that health and safety for our community. I'm very grateful personally. So
I'll be
please
glad.
pass that along to the necessary people on my behalf.
Absolutely.
Anything further regarding, General Manager?
Just one thing, I'd also like to thank the staff that's from CVWD and the City of Indio. Both of them are contacts that we made during our outage on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
They were able to find generators within their existing corporate yards, and we were able to work with them to the point we were ready to have one delivered as if we needed one, as well as go and visit and pick them up. But that's when our lead came in and was able to solve the problem. We didn't have to bring in that extra, but both organizations were very helpful in giving us the confidence that we could make it through this issue. And I just want to thank both of those organizations.
That's fantastic. I love teamwork. Thank you.
General Manager, I appreciate that. I actually have it on my list and I forgot to mention it. I would just say one thing, I won't, unless you want to mention the name, but not only did they step up on the holiday, ensure that they had something, but even their management where it was able to say, yeah, if they need it, then go ahead and get it to them. So before we can even get into the next subject of our conversation, it's like, hey, not a problem. It's already been approved. So if you need it, let us know.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was actually great.
Yeah, people were making reference to our Assistant General Manager, Dan Charlton, and Miguel Pena, Operations Manager for City of Indio. Both of them were very helpful. And I know that we also had city managers and GMs also involved to make sure that we could get this transported back and forth. So appreciate to both the organizations.
And previous employee of the district, Chad Fence.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, and thanks to all that were involved in those big projects.
Thank you.
Ask a question.
Go ahead.
First of all, I'm glad that all the agencies and everybody, we're all working together as a team and trying to help each other out. I think that's outstanding. I'm hearing about these generators. We need to go borrow a generator. I believe that we have 2 backup generators, $500,000 worth of portable generators. So please explain to me what we're doing here with the generators.
I can, if you like. It's up to you. He asked you.
Okay. So yes, we do have generators and those. So we have a backup generator at the Horton plant as well as the Nancy Wright facility. That is our backup power, which is as Danny said, that is required as part of our permit. The issue that we had is that generator was now the primary because the electrical issue we were having. So we had to have a backup of a backup. And as we were talking about, it sounds a little bit odd, but the issue that we had is we have 3 generators that we could actually connect together and get the same power that we needed in parallel, but we had never done that before. And we didn't want to do it going through a holiday period. So we reached out to other agencies as if they had larger generators, and both of them did. Why we purchased generators the size that we needed for all of our water systems. We never thought we need a backup of a backup of our sewer side. So from that perspective, we never actually ran them in parallel, and we didn't want to do it over a holiday weekend. So after this, we are going to go through that process, and we have put together an SOP where we can run them in parallel so we don't have to do that again. But again, it was nice to know that we could reach out to somebody and get a larger generator than we have or even normally need.
If you went into specifics, yes, we have a 200 kilowatt and 275. As the general manager mentioned, they are all able to be parallel. So you can take 275s. However, that would be a little bit more than or equal to the 500. We'd had one already deployed. The one was deployed to our lift station in Dos Palmas just because its backup generator also had an issue. So we had one there. But as the general manager said, I would just like to elaborate on the fact that we've reached out to our generator maintenance and repair contractor that's on contract with us. And yes, he is going to finalize the SOP as the general manager mentioned for the interconnection. I'm sorry, and for the parallel connection, but also he is going to go through the Horton plant and determine what it would take to connect those, so that in this next budget year request, we're going to request the type of connections that we need and have them as part of our SOP and where they're going to be stored. The other part to that is also determine if we were to cycle on certain equipment, what is the minimum power that we would need? Oftentimes generators or backup generators are oversized. They're oversized because they're intended to take the peak load with every piece of equipment that comes on. And so it depends on how you operate your facility. You can never guarantee that you are not, you would be, that you wouldn't have to do it that way, that you can take off certain equipment. So in this case, we're also going to look at that. So if we ever ran into an issue, could we go ahead and make this connection, get that SOP, and then find out what we can turn on a little by little so that we can go ahead and get the startup energy out of the way and see what we can keep running. So
my question is at the Horton plant, and I think all the directors probably remember me going and asking about that big cat generator that's there. It's bigger than life. How many hours were on it? It was really low hours. So we're trying to connect that big generator with another generator.
So the general,
If I may, he said that, but the issue was that it then became the primary and you have to have a backup for the primary.
I understand that, but we didn't need the backup unless that primary went out.
And it did, which is why the generator that's there that you're talking about, the big one, was the main power at that time.
What was the mechanical problem with that generator that caused?
I'd provide some clarification. Primary for us is Southern California Edison.
Right.
Okay.
Backup requirement is a generator. So as the general manager mentioned, once we lost once we had to deploy the permanent generator on site, which is a Caterpillar, it is 1,000 kilowatts. It can power the entire plant, which it did. If it is now becomes primary, we no longer have backup, and the requirement in our permit says that we have to have backup.
I see where you're doing now. Yeah. And I'm sure people who are listening to this understand better too, from the primary to the backup and that. So I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Director Marhoffen. Director Sewell, do you have anything?
Just to be real quick, the generators that we have that you can run in parallel to be the backup to the backup,
Portables, yeah, our portables.
are those efficient to be the backup to the backup at Nancy as well?
So one of the things that, since it was only, we have had this discussion and staff has already ahead of that. So if it can happen at one location, it can happen at another. So this was a stressful exercise. It was a good exercise, and it flushed out some weaknesses and where some of our weakest links are. So we are looking at not only what it will take to do at the Horton plant, also what it will take to do at the regional plant, knowing that we also have availability with our neighboring partners. Can't always guarantee they're going to be there, that they're not using them. So it's also having us look at what we may need to maybe bolster our portable generator inventory. Right.
All I have to say now is if you need any more backup, I'm going to refer you to Director Martin down here.
In fact, Director Martin, do you have anything further?
No.
And Vice President? All right. Thank you so much for all this extra information. And again, thank the teams that did all that fantastic work.
We have to pass that on. Thank you.
All right. And do we have any comments or questions from the public regarding this agenda item?
President Duff, not online.
Thank you so much. Moving right along, agenda number 14, contract amendment for Platinum Strategies, Inc. for on-call accounting services and new enterprise resource planning ERP system project management. It is recommended to authorize the general manager to execute an amendment for Platinum Strategies, Inc. in the amount of $100,000 for a not to exceed total contract amount of $200,000, and to provide on-call accounting services and to provide project management services for the implementation of the Tyler ERP Pro system. General Manager Macy.
Thank you, President Duff. I'll ask our accounting manager, Skylar Aubrey, to give this summary. Skylar?
Thank you, General Manager Macy. I am here to speak to you about our contract amendment for Platinum Strategies Incorporated. We are requesting an additional $100,000 increase to the contract for a not to exceed amount of $200,000. This will be to provide on-call accounting services and project management services related to the new enterprise resource planning, or ERP system. The Tyler implementation has started to pick up. We are currently finalizing our chart of accounts at the moment. Phase 1, the core financials, is set to go live in March. Phase 2, which is HR and payroll module, and then the Phase 3 utility billing are now expected to go live in August of this year. We need Platinum Strategies for both their ERP implementation experience and to help with the additional workload that comes with the implementation. I have already included the related budget adjustment in the mid-year request. And then I am available if you have any questions.
Director Martin? Vice President? Director Sewell? Director Marhoffen?
I think I know the answer to this question, but just for clarification, at $100,000, why don't we just hire an employee and use them for other things in this area? But a specialized employee is what we're talking about here?
This is an implementation of a software. It's converting from our old system to a newer system. So it's a temporary need to get us through the hump and get us through the process of implementing that. Once it's implemented, then we'll go ahead and we'll use the existing staff that we have. We think we'll be confident in what we have today, and we'll not need that person full time after the implementation concludes.
And they have also implemented Tyler specifically multiple times, so their experience will be vital, and it would be very difficult to even find an employee that has been through multiple Tyler implementations. So
Thank you for that clarification. It's very good. Okay. I don't have any further questions on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. I have just one. The initial contract was for 100,000, correct?
so I believe that is after Amendment 1. So the original contract was, I believe, less than that, and then we had a first amendment that made it 100,000, and this would be the second amendment, I believe. So
Okay, I guess I was under the impression that when they gave the quote of the 100 of that First Amendment, it was to see us through all. And it appears as though they short-sighted themselves a little. So I'm just trying to clarify, did we add duties or did something happen or take place that is requiring double what they've asked for already?
So when we initially hired Platinum Strategies, it's when we were operating as we continue to operate without a director of finance.
Okay.
So we originally hired them to help us through some of the workload issues we had as a result of being down an employee.
Okay.
Once they came in and we started then moving forward with the ERP process, we realized that they had the qualifications to help us in other areas. So we then added to their contract. So once we added to their contract and they started negotiating some of the key points of the implementation, we realized we could move, to be honest, faster than we thought we could. So that's why we've now accelerated their contract from an implementation perspective, as well as some of the other things to make sure that our staff is available to help them with the implementation.
So this was in a sense due to our change orders.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Are there any questions from the public?
President Duff, not online.
Thank you so much. And seeing none here, no further questions. Thank you for the presentation. We appreciate it.
thank you.
And with that, let's see. Agenda item number 15 and 15, the appointments to board standing committees. We're going to be handling this on Monday. If any of you have not talked to me and have any concerns or requests or specifics, please reach out. I'm available all weekend and through Tuesday. Is there any staff portion of this or?
There is not.
All right, thank you. And then 16, I guess I should stop and say, are there any questions from the board or comments from the board regarding this, Director Martin? Vice President? Director Sewell? Director Meyer-Huffin?
Yes, you was coming. It's, I don't even know how to say this. A director said to me that Director Duff would make a good president. I agreed with them.
Thank you.
Then they said to me, I might make a good president because I was in the Marines. And that, for me, is probably one of the most important, remembering that I was in the Marines. However, I had to explain that I was the chairman for the Parks Commission, the vice chair for the Police Commission, and I do have that experience. And it's concerning that I've been to college for things that relate to what we're doing here. I do have that background with government with the city, and I'm not being put on any meetings. And I did say that it was okay, but then we just opened up that door again and get a hold of the president. And I said that because last year, about the same time, I said, I'm not going to be going to meetings that do not relate to water and just go to those meetings to collect a check. So I enjoy the people at the Building Industry Association. And I said last year I wouldn't be going if I wasn't put on something, and I haven't gone. So I don't expect to be put back on there again unless I'm put on something that concerns water.
Okay.
I like to learn something new every day. So far, I'm not learning anything new anymore here.
Okay.
But yeah, I am, I learned a little something here today, but you understand what I'm saying. So I was speaking with General Manager Macy today, and he gave everybody here on the board a nice compliment. I was explaining to him this morning how I was talking to somebody about a golf course in the water and how it would affect the little water company there if they got it all cut back. And General Manager said he had an opportunity to share some of his expertise last night. And he said that we're all experts here and that in what we're doing, and that we don't always get the time to share our expertise. And I think that's where I'm at with the board here, not having time to get involved with other things. And it's been very difficult to get excited about being here. As far as me running for election again, I'd like to stay right here. Director Grasha can stay where he's at. I'll stay here and we can do our thing. So that's where I'm at here with this.
Well, thank you for those comments.
Thank you.
Director Stoll, anything?
No.
On this end? Director Martin?
The only thing I want to comment is, because it's subject not specifically to what you said, Director Meyerhoffen, but that I can think of no other group of individuals who deal with as much sewer and water issues as the building industry. And that's why we're involved with the building industry. And sometimes their specific agendas aren't addressing a water issue. But it's important to build those relationships with those two organizations because of they do a lot of work in the water and sewer industry. So that's my only comment on it.
I agree with you. And if you've had those kind of conversations with those folks, then my suggestion to President Duff is that he puts you on both of those. Because when I go there, it's kind of hard because they're developers. I'm not a developer. Sure, and it's kind of, and I feel like they're sending people over to kind of talk to me, keep me company, and they're very nice folks. And as you know, I like development. I like the construction end of it. And as I told you 3 years ago, I'm not here to become a developer. I'd be very good at it if I did.
Thank you.
All right.
Director Martin, anything else?
No.
Okay. Vice President Griffith, anything? All right. And this isn't really open for public question, correct? The number 15 appointments to the board committees.
Generally.
All right. Any questions or comments from the public regarding number 15?
President Duff, not online.
Thank you. Moving on to 16, which is the affiliation list. And this is going to also be something that will be decided upon on Monday. If there are any affiliations specific, like we had just talked about for the committees, please reach out and let me know. I'm trying to be as fair as possible. And with that, any questions or comments, Director Martin?
Nothing. Thank you.
Vice President Griffith?
Nothing.
Okay. Okay. I have one, but it's about the staff report on this particular, on page 168. And I'm just asking if we could have a double check. It was referring to our stipend as 250. I just needed clarification because we're supposed to add COLA at some point, and I don't know if it was January 1st or if it was July 1st. Because it was supposed to automatically, so we didn't have big jumps, or did we not do that? I thought that was our plan.
We did not. We decided to address it on an annual basis should we desire, and I don't believe we have done that for 2 years.
We did not for the first year, so I think we're on our second year, right?
This would be our second year.
Yes, that the timing is correct.
Yes, and then that usually would be when we do the staff one also, correct?
Correct. When we look at the COLAs and things of that nature, yes, And
But if we could just make sure staff includes this topic on the future agenda so that we can make sure to mirror what we had said. We didn't want any big jumps in the future like this last one was.
unlike some of the COLAs that we talk about, whether it be mileage and things like that that are handled by the federal government, I think there is a process that we have to follow for board compensation. So we will start that
Okay.
as we get closer to the budget process and make sure that legal counsel chimes in to make sure we
Tickers, just a reminder so that it doesn't fall through the cracks and we end up 5 years from now, a board saying, yeah, we're going to need another $100 because nothing happened for the last 5 years. I just am trying to keep that ticker going. So
we can do that.
thank you so much.
My question on that one is that we're at 250, we're supposed to be at 306. So how do we add a COLA in if we're already under where we're supposed to be?
We agreed to do 250 below what we could have asked for.
Correct?
And then it was going to be based on, I thought it was based on COLA, like the employees, whatever that same percentage was, and then it would be whatever the board action is required. Am I understanding and repeating that correctly?
That's what we talked about, but I think that as Vice President Griffith said, we were going to review that after that cycle because when we did that before, it was so close to the COLA process. We wanted to wait a year to do it at that point and then go through the legal process of changing the compensation.
So we will be talking about this in more depth in the near future. Thank you so much. Any questions or comments from the public regarding agenda number 16?
President Duff, not online.
Thank you so much. We're going to move on to discussion items. Number 17, administrative building update. General Manager Mason.
Thank you, President Duff. As you recall, we did a lead certification discussion as part of our last workshop earlier this month. I just wanted to add that we have talked to our architect about where we are with some of the other statuses of some of the reviews that were going on by the city. We have scheduled to bid the project in February and be able to move forward with hopefully bringing something to you in April. In addition to that, we are working with some of our financial advisors to make sure that we'll have the funding component with that together about the same time in April and May. So just want to let you know that we are moving forward with that project and that the bidding has been scheduled for February. That concludes our report.
Thank you very much, General Manager. Director Martin?
No questions.
Vice President Griffith? Director Sewell? Director Merhoven? All right, with no questions from myself or any members of the board, are there any comments or questions from the public?
President Duff, not online.
Thank you very much. Number 18, Groundwater Protection Program update. General Manager Macy.
Thank you, President Duff. As you know, the Wright facility has been up and running for almost a year now. We're completing the diversion chamber with a couple of long lead items related to stainless steel bolts. The last part of that project would be the M2 septic to sewer. We are currently bidding that project and working with the Riverside County to make sure that the encroachment requirements are correct so that the permit can be obtained by the contractor. As such, we've extended the bidding date until January 28th, and we'll be hopefully bringing some of the results to you at our next board meeting. That concludes our report.
Thank you, General Manager Macy. Any questions, Director Marhoffen? Director Martin?
No.
Vice President? Director Sewell? And I have none as well. Any questions or comments from the public?
Not online, President Duff.
Thank you. Moving on to consent agenda. These are items that are available to be pulled if we want to have any discussion of any of them. Does anyone want to pull any of the consent agenda items number 19, 20, 21, or 22? And do I need to read those out loud? Thank you. Seeing none? Okay. So are there any staff reports on any of these consent agenda items that you want to share?
We do have staff reports prepared, but knowing that these are typically sort of routine items, we can give a quick summary. I would ask Eric Weck, our engineering manager, would you like to provide any a summary of, let's say, item 21, acceptance of bill of sale for the fire station? Eric?
Yes, sir. I am prepared if you like. Let me bring up my PowerPoint just in case. Okay. Thank you, General Manager Macy. Good afternoon, President Duff and members of the board. Item 21 of this afternoon's
Eric,
consent agenda.
You may want to use your slide a little bit, move it forward.
Thank you, sir.
There you go. Thank you.
Item 21 of this afternoon's consent agenda item is about the execution of a bill of sale for the recently constructed fire station for the city of Desert Hot Springs. To serve as some background, typically developers, or in this case, the city of Desert Hot Springs, are conditioned by the water district to construct water improvements to provide service for their development, in this case, the fire department. The city was conditioned to construct water service improvements, and these improvements have been inspected and have been found to meet the the district standards. Staff would recommend on Tuesday to have the board accept the improvements and direct staff to have them incorporated into the district's water system. Are there any questions?
Director Martin? Vice President? Director Sewell? Director Meyerhoffen? And I have none either. Thank you, Eric. I do have one question on number 22.
I was going to ask that since we have the PowerPoint up, Eric, can you show us the map of where this is and describe the rear yard easement issue and what's been asked of us? If that's not your question, I think we've talked.
Yes.
Absolutely, I can take care of it. Oh, I'm sorry, you were talking to President Duff.
But your answer was perfect.
Oh, okay. So let's see here. Let's get my act together. Okay. So this afternoon's consent agenda item, number 22, is about the district taking necessary actions to record a permanent quitclaim on a property located on Upland Way. And this property is highlighted with the red border. The quitclaim is for a portion of a utility easement that the district no longer needs. And that utility easement is denoted by the yellow outline there. So everything within the yellow outline is the easement that the district would like to vacate. This easement area in yellow will be used for residential construction for on real property in the city of Desert Hot Springs and equates to almost 480 square feet. The district engineering and operations staff reviewed the property in question and which is currently vacant, but is planned to have 2 single-family dwellings constructed. Staff found that the easement area is not in use by any other utility agency, and there is no need for the district's use of this area. Now, water service for this property will be provided by the neighboring property's water line that's in an existing easement there. So this property will not be getting service from the street. They will utilize the water line that is in this backyard easement. And just so that everybody knows, eventually, and this is in our scope as the board may remember, we've got a scope to abandon these water lines that are in backyard easements and then construct them in the public right of way, typically in the streets. So eventually, water lines will be constructed in Upland Way, and they will be connected to the water line that's in the street. The developer provided a deposit of $1,000 and a reimbursable account to cover staff time and reporting fees. Are there any questions from the board?
Director Martin? Director Meyerhoffen? Director Sewell? Vice President Griffith? Thank you for those clarifications, Eric. It seemed like it might have been a rear yard easement type situation, but it's interesting we're still going to connect there. Thank you for that
We'd like to
information. You did have a question, Director Martin?
no, a comment.
Go ahead.
Eric, as the chairman for the engineering committee, I just want you to know that you have the full support of the engineering committee and to keep up the good work.
Sir, I appreciate the kind words, and I'll continue to work hard.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anything further from staff?
No, not at this time.
All right. And that'll bring us to reports. Does anyone want to do their director's reports today?
Tuesday.
Tuesday? Tuesday. Okay. Moving on to item number 24, general manager's report.
So in your packet, you will find the general manager's report. We also prepared to talk about the finance report as well as the public affairs report at the board. If the board would like to hear that today, we are prepared to do so. If not, we can do it on Tuesday as well. While you're thinking about that, I do have one other item I'd like to bring to the board's attention. AGM Champion and I attended 2 community meetings related to the CVWD ID8 area Tuesday night, one at Desert Edge and one at Sky Valley. CVWD General Manager Jim Barrett spoke to both communities with Marion and I only in attendance, so we did not speak. The key points that GM Barrett brought up was one, that the ID8 area is entirely separate from the main system of CVWD. They have 4 wells that provide water service to that area. The Chrome 6 concentrations for those 4 wells are between 10.4 and 12.5, which are greater than the maximum contaminant level. The state standard to bring those wells into compliance would cost around $25 million. In contrast, comparing that to how much it would cost to bring the ID8 system to the CVWD main system will be about $40 million. So the CVWD is specifically looking at one option, and that one option is either doing treatment or something else. From that perspective, the cost that they shared, they're estimating to be about $85 per month per customer for that area. The reason we were part of this was because we can, with our wells and our supply, can provide water service to those facilities, but even if we were to provide service, that would still require treatment at those 4 wells. While the state does have limited funds to help remove Chrome 6, they do have a program that can underwrite the cost of connecting the 2 systems together, and that is where CVWD thinks it would be the most beneficial to their customers. The whole intent is to transfer the service to minimize the impact and try to reduce that $85 per month per customer. From that perspective, then they opened it up to any questions or any comments. Just from a community standpoint, both communities didn't fully understand the reasons behind the possible transfer of service. Some of them felt that CVWD was abandoning them, didn't know why MSWD was even involved. Some of them made some negative remarks about MSWD and how we've handled things in the past, but nothing really recent. And then both of them expressed a desire to stay with CVWD. There is a 3rd committee meeting scheduled for the Indio Hills Community Council meeting on January 27th. So I just wanted to let the board know that we are participating, but only in attendance in case there's any questions. But in reality, they're CVWD customers. They're not MSWD customers, but we are talking and have been discussing possible annexation of that system. But they're currently CVWD customers, and that's why CVWD is taking the lead. Any questions?
Director Martin?
No.
Vice President Griffith?
How was the $80 per month cost increase received?
Again, I don't know that they fully understood what they were being told from that perspective. I don't want to necessarily speak for some of the comments and how they were told, but it didn't seem to focus around the cost. It was that CVWD has always been our provider, and we have confidence in them and we want to stay with them. So I think regardless of what happens, CVWD is going to have to go through a process to educate their customers. And then they may start seeing the benefit to us. I don't want to go necessarily back and forth too much, only because it's not an agenda. But yeah, I don't think they fully understood what the whole goal was and how it was going to actually help them as a customer and help them financially.
Director Still, go ahead.
Just how was the overall turnout, and were they aware that you were representing MSWD, or were they speaking as if
So
We weren't there. And
this was part of their monthly meetings, so it was very well, both of them were very well attended. They did ask if we were going to give a presentation. They did not realize we were in the room, but they were, at least one of the two groups was asking if we were there and expected us to speak. But again, it was very clear when General Manager Jim Barrett stood up, said that I'm not here to convince any of you or to try to sway your opinions. I'm just here to give you the facts. So we didn't want to get up and try to convey any different messaging than CVWD did. So I think after the meeting, they realized that we were not part of CVWD as we were walking out of the room. But when the presentations were giving, they were asking for more additional information from us.
okay.
Director Marhoffen?
I'm glad that you and Assistant General Manager Champion are attending these and seeing what's going on. And it'll be interesting to see what the folks up in Indio have to say. And I still am saying approach with great caution on this, whatever we're doing. Thank you.
Anything further from the general manager's report tonight?
Would the board like to hear the finance and public affairs, or would you like to wait till Tuesday?
Tuesday.
All right, looks like
We'll
we're
give them on
doing
Tuesday. Perfect. Thank you.
Are there any comments from the directors for either general comments, requests for future agenda items, or requests for future meetings? Director Marhoffen. Director Sewell.
Just to apologize for my tardiness and say that I was able to watch the workshop and just this meeting. It's refreshing to have you as our president. So great job.
Thank you. Vice President Griffith.
No.
Director Meyerhoffen. And Director Martin.
Yeah, just one last comment. I attended my first meeting as chairman of the Riverside Countywide Oversight Board. And while there are a lot of similarities in running a meeting there and how you run a meeting here, there's a lot of differences too. And very interesting experience on there. So I look forward to continue in that vein. So.
And we look forward to hearing more about the going-ons.
Well, I don't know if I can tell you or not.
Oh boy, here we go. All right, and I don't have any specific comments for tonight's meeting, but I will have some special comments and some photographs to share regarding the CVAG and Coachella Valley Association of Conservation Committees cleanup of encampments and dump sites in our city. And Vice President, go ahead.
I want to say happy birthday to Danny. Welcome to ARP.
Yeah, happy birthday. Seeing no further comments, are there any additional comments from the public?
I had one little
And
thing. I just wanted to let you know that twice a year, our Monday board meetings fall on Tuesday. I have council meetings. And so most likely Fader Norton from our office will be here on Tuesday.
Thank you for letting us know, and thank you for making sure we're covered.
You bet.
And seeing no further comments or questions, I am ready to adjourn the meeting. And thank you all for everything today. Adjourned.